welcome, because I got loads of lovely comments on my my only 2 videos previously. I probably got a bit cocky and decided to knock another one out. Now, I was watching some stuff on YouTube last night. I crashed out, I fell asleep, and it was still playing on, and yeah, there were some interesting videos that came up, particularly from, a kind of guilty pleasure channel that I have on here. So I'm going to look at that because it really does raise some very, very important questions about how much is hidden from us as just the little people. The little people not being aware of what goes on in our justice system. And thank the Lord, there is one man who has followed the whole trial, attended it, he's bought the transcripts, he's done everything, and he has such a wealth of information. The weight of this, the incriminating nature of so much of it is chilling. He was streaming right through Christmas, like he quite often puts up multiple hours, like up to 12 hours, like maybe even more of videos. And he's really, really dedicated to this. He's not getting a thing out of it at all. Nothing. But it's a labour of love for him to set the record straight and correct misinformation. And I mean, this is about educating the public ultimately, isn't it? And this is precisely why he knocks out such just really high quality content. And it would also explain why his fans and the commenters on his channel are so terrifyingly well educated on this case. Honestly, it's not a thing that does not get past them. It's mesmerising. Genuinely. Thanks. So, the chilling information. Let's have a look.
To this house. Now, what has struck a lot of people, but what hasn't actually been mentioned that much in the press, is the fact that Lucy Letby's property backs directly onto a cemetery. Now, during this trial and during the investigation, so many people were messaging me and talking to me about this location and why would she choose to buy a house that literally, and I don't mean it's like a couple of 100 meters away, it literally backs onto her back garden. The cemetery backs straight onto her back garden pretty much. Why would she?
Yeah, so there's a little taster for you. Interesting, isn't it, that these are the things that take up so much time. I wonder if that's typical.
But that wasn't the worst part. And now I've got no way of verifying this whatsoever.
But that won't stop him.
But that wasn't the worst part. Did you know that Lucy Letby's house actually backs onto the baby memorial? It's the house that's the closest possible house to where that baby memorial is situated.
Now, genuinely, this has taken up quite a lot of space in discussion forums and that where people are absolutely baying for Letby's blood. Possibly a sign of how weak and pitiful the evidence against her is.
And was the fact that her house actually backs onto a cemetery, was that, as I said earlier, a selling point for her?
So here's something that no one can do anything but speculate about. So let's do that. Grimly, though, it goes on.
If this was a selling point for Lucy Letby when she purchased that house.
This is categorically nuts. She was 26 years old. It's amazing she bought any house and it was close to work. This is just so ridiculous. And mark my words, this is a sign of how weak the case is. And now, anyway, here's some more spurious links that will make Christopher Snowden clutch his pearls.
About. Please look on the wall in front of you there. You have a decoration, I guess you could call it. It's a bit like a cartoon owl on some kind of branch. Now, on the face of things, that seems quite innocent.
It really does. It really does. Yeah, but go on.
Absolutely no idea. But what stands out to me is this owl decoration bears a striking resemblance to what is found in the nursery rooms at the Countess of Chester Hospital, where Lucy Letby attacked these children. And that does give it a bit of a different feel, doesn't it? I mean, it's not just a case of an owl being on a branch. They look actually quite similar in style, in artistic style, and it makes me wonder if she put them there.
Or 5 years before the local tat shop was having a sale. You should be able to see what a rock and a hard place this woman was in. It's like at this stage, because it's either she bought them and put them there, which is a deep sign of some pathological behaviour, or she bought the house with it there, and it might well have influenced her. You know, it might have been the equivalent of smell of fresh coffee, or she saw them there and she decided to not decorate because, you know, it's not like she worked incredibly long hours. She decided not to decorate because it reminded her of work in the most chilling way you could imagine.
And it makes me wonder if she put them there. Or were they already there when she purchased the house and she just didn't decorate them because they did remind her of the nursery rooms at the Countess of Chester Hospital.
And why would she want reminding of the hospital? Because she attacked babies there. That's what he's saying. It's absolutely ludicrous. It's worse than sick. It's really, really horrible. Particularly the attention that has been thrown onto that cemetery as well, where people are grieving their babies. And then you've got actually really genuinely creepy people doing videos like this where they drive around from her old house to that cemetery. Like, genuinely, this is deranged. This is deranged. When there's a real serial killer, someone who does genuinely horrific things, there tend to be actual, like, you know, substantial things that come out about them. Not this ridiculous stuff. There are God knows how many hundreds, like well over 1,000 entirely possibly, who live around cemeteries in my town. It's absolutely pathetic that they would do this. And then, as you can see, the images actually aren't that alike. This is the most of the owl on the left that you get to see in his video. And they just look like completely average kids' bedroom and nursery decorations to me. Nothing weird about that. It's a 3-bedroom house. It's quite likely that one room is going to be done up for a kid's bedroom, isn't it? And we know she was working ridiculously long hours. She hadn't even lived there that long before she had to sell it.
No way whatsoever of verifying that.
No, actually, I don't really want to stick it to this guy. Like, his channel really irritates me because he is constantly cited as being this unbiased source of the real information regarding the trial. As I say, he claims to have gone and to have got the transcript. I've asked him many, many times on YouTube and elsewhere and other social media sites where he responds to some people, you know. I've asked him how much did they cost him and where did he get them from, and maybe he will post up proof at some stage. But the price for these transcripts, particularly from the point that he was claiming to have had them, they would have been pretty extortionate because somebody's got to type them all up, you know, and that's hard work. As well as, like, the fact that they're going to need to be gone through carefully and redacted. And, I mean, Lord knows what it involves, but the initial quotes were around £100,000. The screenshots above are of the general discourse that followed this video. You know, it was really salacious and tenuous, I would say. Is this the best they've got? Because, I mean, how come it doesn't... how come... like, Lucy Letby is ontologically evil because she bought the one house that backs onto the baby memorial garden part of the cemetery. Which brings us to, is he just reading out the prosecution's transcripts? You know, like, a lot of people post up his prosecution's closing speech against Lucy Letby as proof of what she did. Obviously, that's actually not how closing speeches by prosecutors work. They're not a bipartisan statement of truth or agreed facts or anything like that. You know, they are, let's nail this woman, this is what she did, and putting a a malevolent spin on absolutely everything, whether that is writing condolence cards to parents, crying or not crying, being emotional, that's for attention. When she was appearing quite cold, and as I've spoken about before, she has PTSD and is quite heavily medicated, that's damning as well, because how could she be cold? This woman didn't stand a chance with this sort of stuff going on. She really didn't. But don't worry about this, because if you back onto a cemetery, that will have just been a shrewd house buy, or maybe you wanted to live by some a bit of wildlife, and somewhere that's nice and quiet and not about to be turned into high rises. It's only when it's her that we need to worry or see something bad in it. And this is because since she's been convicted, not one story has come out about her being mean to somebody, making up illnesses, or any of the things that I listed before. So people get bored, and there's an awful lot of excitement for people who are piously preaching to people like myself that we are not respecting the babies. I really, really refute that. I find that extraordinarily hypocritical, having seen the memes, the jokes, the vile comments online, and the pure entertainment value that people get from this. Now, I myself have been a bit guilty before of reading up on true crime, serial killers and stuff. This is ongoing, and there are very, very hurt, like dozens, scores upon scores, hundreds of people who are absolutely, their lives are changed by this case, absolutely, 100%. And they may be upset that people like me are doubting the guilt of Lucy Letby, but I can't imagine that is much assuaged by seeing the people dedicated to upholding her guilt in public, while essentially salivating over every grim detail and seeing something in everything. It's like she was getting a real kick out of this. Oh, I bet when she did that for this baby, she was really thinking this, and just making it as macabre as possible. It's gross and inexcusable to my mind. If your whole reason for having a channel is to challenge misinformation, what on earth are you doing knocking out so many videos that are just speculative nonsense and so horrible with it? The true crime fans have really, really overstepped the mark here.
Make you wonder if this was a selling point for Lucy Letby when she purchased that house.
Now that is scientific fact. There's no real evidence for it, but it is scientific fact.